StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, what standards are you willing to set? Before we get into this, I remind everybody, I want to inform you, I send out a text message every single morning that is called the Daily Motivation. Let me tell you what this text message does. It is guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. So you want to get this text. So let me tell you how to get it. All you got to do is text me at my number, which is 305-384-6894. And every single morning when that daily motivation text comes out, because you're a member of my text community, you'll be getting this message free of charge straight to your phone every single damn day. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the place where I do all my coaching. Anybody ever ask, Dre, do you do any coaching? Is there any way I can work with you directly? Is there any way I can talk to you on a regular basis and just ask you questions and share with you what I have going on and get your feedback and your help on how I can move myself forward and do so quickly and efficiently and productively and effectively? The answer is yes, there is a way. And that way is Work on Your Game University. That's the only place you can work with me directly. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and you get all the details on how to get started. All that said, let's get into today's topic, which is, what standards are you willing to set? So I'll tell you a quick life anecdote here, anecdote/story. I was thinking of they have this concept called the dad bod. You ever heard of that? The dad bod, like when a man has a child and the first few years of the child being let's say, I don't know how many years this goes. I don't know. What is the statute of limitations on the dad bod concept? Is it 3 years, 10 years, 15 years? I don't know how many years it is. But when a man has a child, the theoretical idea is that because he has a child, he doesn't have as much time for himself anymore. So that means he doesn't work out as much and he doesn't go to the gym as much and get the exercises in. Therefore, he grows a little pudgy. He might get a little belly, and he doesn't have as much muscle definition. He's not as in shape as he used to be because he's a dad. And it's like a tongue-in-cheek cute little joke that because you're a dad, that's okay, that you can have a dad body. It's great that you're being a dad. Obviously, you're putting more energy into being a dad than you are being in shape, and that's why it makes sense. So I remember hearing about the dad bod before I had a child, and again, I explained what the dad bod is. And just the other day, just last week from when I'm recording this, I was taking my son on a walk. It was Sunday morning, and we usually take a long walk on Sunday mornings. And I'm pushing my son in the stroller, and there was a gentleman ahead of me, a few yards ahead of me. He was also pushing his son in the stroller. And I don't know this guy. I didn't talk to this guy. But I remember just looking at him while I'm walking, and it got me thinking about this whole dad bod concept and how I have many friends, male and female, who before I had children, and they had children before me, their kids are all older than mine. My son is, by the time you hear this, only 1 year old, just past a year old. And they would say, oh, well, see, Dre, you are able to, keep up with your friends and do your business stuff and work out and stay in shape and all these things because you don't have kids. But when you have kids, you'll see, LOL, this is what people were saying to me. And during this year that I've had a child, while it has been more challenging and I have not gotten as great, as quality sleep as I was getting before, I have still been able to stay actively working out, consistently in touch with my friends, even though I have a child. And again, by the time you hear this, he's past a year old. I did not fall off the wagon in those areas in my business, in my relationships, or in my fitness. So today I want to talk about not the dad bod concept, but really I want to talk about our standards. And when I say our, I don't mean me personally. I mean me and you, our standards, and how our standards do not get interrupted by commonly accepted excuses. Because the dad bod thing, again, is cute and it's funny, but it's also an excuse. It's an excuse. All right, a dad that was in shape before he had kids, but now he's not in shape because he has kids. Well, then you're using your kids as an excuse for you not being in shape. That's an excuse. All right, even though you might think it's funny and you think it's cute and you're saying, well, you're sacrificing yourself for the kids, you can call it whatever you want. It's an excuse. So let's get into it. Because if you have a standard, then excuses don't matter. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is what standards are you willing to set? Number one, we talk about standards a lot here at Work on Your Game. It's a big part of what we do. It's a big part of what I do, and it needs to be a big part of what you do. And this is not necessarily about your body or fitness, etc. Because I think that game is a little bit different for females. If you're taking care of a child, especially if you're breastfeeding or something like that, because you literally have to be the only source of nourishment for your child. So a little bit different for a woman than it would be for a man. But again, this is not about fitness per se. I'm just using fitness as an example. So I explained to you how standards, I have explained to you how standards lead to principles. When you have a standard, then you set principles, which is basically your rules. Those principles lead to strategies, which is your plans of action. Those strategies to tactics, which is how you actually execute your plan of action. The first step in this whole understanding is knowing what your standards are. What is a standard, folks? A standard is a non-negotiable. That's what a standard is. A standard is a non-negotiable. I talked about being hurt versus being injured, discussion of principles and standards in episode 2504. I told you in episode 2097 that standards still matter. I told you in episode 1974 that standards are the enemy of mediocrity. I told you in episode 1331 that you should never lower the bar of standards. So here's my question to you. What are your non-negotiables? What are the things in your life that no matter what changes, no matter how many kids pop out, no matter what goes on around you, no matter where you live, no matter what you're doing, what you got going on financially, where you work, how your business is going, what your friends are doing, what your family says, these are things that are non-negotiable and they are not changing regardless of who says what or who does what. What are your non-negotiables? What positions in life do you currently occupy that you would never compromise on and would not allow yourself to fall off of regardless of what's happening around you, barring an act of God? All right, well, an act of God be the only thing that would allow these to be interrupted. But anything else, anything short of an act of God, there's no negotiation. What are those things for you? You need to know what these are. And the challenge for many of you is that you have zero. You have no non-negotiables. That's your challenge. It's not that you can't actually do them, is that you don't have any. Therefore, you don't have anything that is going to actually be set in stone for you in life. And therefore, you know what that makes it hard to do? I got an episode that's going to be coming up on this exact topic in a few days. It's hard to build a reputation when you don't have anything that you're standing rock solid on. See, a reputation is built on you being known for something specific that everybody knows you for and it never changes. What is that for you? See, if you have no standards, then you can't build a reputation. You think of all the people who have a very strong reputation for a specific thing. I guarantee you there are some very, very important standards that they have in place in that area. And that's why you know them for that thing, because it's consistent. Consistency does not happen by accident. I don't care how talented you are. This is why life circumstances throw many of you off so easily, because you have no standards. So the circumstance is stronger than your standard because, well, there is no standard. So the circumstance wins easily. See, you need to know what your standards are. See, one of my standards, and this goes back to the anecdote I shared with you at the top of this episode. One of my standards is that I will always be in professional athlete shape, even if I'm not playing a professional sport. I'm not playing a sport professionally right now. Right? The main thing that I do is, if you're watching this on video, I'm in a suit and I'm doing this. I'm doing business things. This is the main thing that I do. But it is still a priority for me to be in professional athlete shape, and I always will be. Again, barring an act of God, I will always be in professional athlete shape. I was in a boxing gym just yesterday, and I was talking to this kid who he's always there working out. I always see him, and we say what's up to each other, but we never had any type of like conversation. And I got to talking to him yesterday, and we're talking. He asked me, was I a professional boxer? And I'm far from a professional boxer. And I'm not trying to be a professional boxer. I told him, no, I'm not a professional boxer. I used to play basketball and this and that. I told him I played pro basketball for almost a decade. And he was like, man, how old are you? I told him I'm 41 years of age, and he looked at me like I was crazy. He was like, man, I thought you were like 25 because he only sees me in the gym. He never saw me in a suit. So he only sees me in the gym working out. So that it kind of makes some sense. And I'm talking to him. I didn't know how old he was. He's 19. Like, I'm old enough to be this kid's dad. And he said, and he's like, it's crazy because, my dad is 41. And he said, my dad looks 41, but you don't look 41. So it was funny that he said that because I'm old enough to be his dad. I haven't had too many conversations with kids that are that young. So I guess either that means I'm getting old. I don't know what that means. But anyway, he asked me that. And as I said, I'm not trying to be a pro boxer, but I guess I could take it as a compliment that he didn't think I was the age that I said I am. But the reason that he asked me that is because I'm always in the gym and I'm in shape. And that's one of my standards. So I take it as a source of, I guess you would call it pride, but it's just a reflection of my standards. It's not like I'm walking around fishing for compliments. Like, that's just a standard of mine. I've never been out of shape. Like, anybody who's known me it doesn't matter how long you know me, you've never seen me out of shape because I've never been out of shape. My version of out of shape is better than most people you see at your local gym. So my out of shape, you wouldn't know I was out of shape, even though I might tell you that I am. But again, that's one of my personal standards. And I'm just using that as an example. I have others. What are yours? That's the real question. What are your standards that you're like, this is absolutely, there's no way I'm negotiating on this. There's no way I'm bending on this, no matter what's happening in my life. You need to know what these are, and they should be written down, and you need to commit them to, you shouldn't even have to commit them to memory because it doesn't need to be that many that you got to memorize them. They should be so strong that you don't have to think about them. You don't have to refer to a piece of paper and know what they are because they're like, there's no way with this one. This is like, you don't even have to ask yourself, what is that for you? Or what are those for you? Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is what standards are you willing to set? Number 2. Here's the great thing about standards. They make decision making easy. When you have a standard that you need to, for example, let's say you have a standard that you need to make a certain amount of money, then it's easy for you to decide what you're going to do or not do business-wise based on your standard. See, the standard actually makes a decision for you. When you have a standard when it comes to your physical fitness, the standard decides whether you're going to eat that extra cupcake or get an extra hour of rest, or whether you're going to go to the gym tomorrow or if you're not going to go to the gym tomorrow. Why? Because you have a standard that says this is what I am, this is who I am, this is what I do. Then there's no negotiating on that. Remember, any of you saw the movie Wolf of Wall Street with Jordan Belfort? Well, it was about Jordan Belfort. The actor was Leo DiCaprio. But I saw the actual Wolf, Jordan Belfort. He's out there. He creates content and does courses and stuff like that. These days, he's out of incarceration and he does courses and things like that. And he once did like a presentation in Miami, and he gave a little just speech about business and sales and money and things like that. And of course, there was a sales pitch at the end. And I remember one of the things that he said in that, he said his barometer financially is set at $20 million a year. And he said, so if it gets to like October and I only have $15 million banked for the year in revenue, then it's hard for me to go to sleep because I got to get that extra $5 million. That's a standard. For you, again, back to the question from point number 1, what are your standards? You see, when he has that standard of he needs to make that extra $5 million, then decision making for him is easy. So if someone comes to him with an opportunity to make an extra $1 million or $2 million, then he's probably going to jump on it. Why? Because he hasn't hit his number yet. So I got to get that extra $1 million. Now, if he had 25 already in the bank, then he might pass on an opportunity. Well, I hit my number already, so maybe I don't need that money. But he didn't get it yet. He might take it, whether he feels like he has to or he just wants to take it anyway. But the bottom line is he has a standard. He has to make that money one way or another because he set a standard for himself. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying here? See, standards make decision-making easy, which removes indecision, which saves you time because you don't have to think about what to do, which means you get more life out of your life, which we just talked about not too long ago. A few episodes ago, I told you how to get more life out of your life. That was episode number 2648. You want to get more life out of your life, you need more time to do it. And one way that you can get more time in your life is to spend less time in deliberation. And one way to spend less time in deliberation is set certain standards such that you don't have to think about whether to say yes or no to an opportunity because your standard will tell you whether you will say yes or no. The standard decides. All you do is do what the standard tells you to do. See, the flip side of having standards is the inverse of everything that I told you before. See, because you have standards and you are not willing to compromise on them as they are standards, which means there is no compromise. That's just by definition. You must be willing to adhere to the rules that come with your standards. So if you have a standard, that means there are rules that come with it. If your standard is you have a certain price point for your services and you don't offer discounts, if that's a standard of yours, I'm not saying you have to have this standard, but if that is a standard, you're selling a $10,000 product, someone comes to you and says, well, I have $9,000, that means there's no negotiation. That's the price. The price is $10,000. You only got $9,000, then you need to go get that extra $1,000 and come back, call me back. If that's your standard. You are not only willing to walk away, but you have no choice but to walk away. See, willing to walk away means you have a choice. If it's a standard, then there's no choice. This is absolutely happening. All right, this is the way it is going. See, if the standard is you get a workout in every day, it doesn't matter that it's Christmas or that it's raining or that it's cold or that you have a headache, or it doesn't matter that you didn't sleep last night because the baby kept waking up. Every day means every fucking day. That's a standard. Question is, are you willing to live like this on your standards? And let me give you all a hint. Every one of you needs to have some standards in the areas of life that matter to you. And it doesn't matter what else is going on. Again, barring an act of God, you are always fulfilling that standard, whatever it happens to be. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is what standards are you willing to set and impose on yourself? Number 3. Here's the best part about having standards. You thought I already told you the best part? No, I didn't get to it yet. Here it is. You can sit and map out exactly what you want your life to look like, what should be in images, not words. All right? Your human brain works best when it has a picture, a vision to work off of, not just words. Your words can paint the picture, but you need a picture, not just text. So map out what you want your life to look like. Then decide what standards need to be in place in order for you to make that image a reality, and then put yourself into it. Standards will make it easy for you to reach goals that you have set. See, any goal that you set, all you got to do is figure out what standards need to be in place to make that goal real, and then what would need to happen in order for you to execute on those standards. That's it. That's all you got to do. Easiest way to execute on any standard that you set is to get with someone who knows how to help you complete that picture that you have created. So if you set the standard that you're always going to be in shape, but right now you're 35 pounds overweight and you're 37 years of age, okay, clearly you being in charge of that goal is not the best way to do it. You need to go get with someone who will help you reach that standard. You tell them what the standard is. My standard is I want to always be in shape. Can you help me get in shape and stay in shape? And whoever that person is, if they're qualified, they'll say, of course I can. You just got to do whatever I tell you. Now, what I tell you to do is not going to be easy. Because if it was easy for you, then you wouldn't be 30 pounds overweight right now. So are you ready to do what I'm going to tell you to do? And if your answer is yes, if it's really a standard, your answer should be yes. They're going to tell you what to do. All you got to do is listen to what they say. So when I tell you set the standards and creating this image, it doesn't mean you do everything by yourself. Because for most of us, trying to do everything by ourselves is what got us to the point where we're not hitting what we claim to be standards. So clearly, we all need to fire ourselves from certain jobs. Now, I have a whole episode where I talked about that. That was episode number 2084, when and how to fire yourself. One time in life, you know, you need to fire yourself is that you have a certain thing you want to achieve. You have been trying to achieve it, but have failed to achieve it. You need to fire yourself. Fire yourself from the job. You have somebody working for you and you gave them a job and they were trying to do it for years and they weren't able to do it. At what point would you decide, no, let me stop paying this mofo and fire them and get somebody better on the job? How long would you let somebody work for you, pay them, and they're not achieving the goal that you told them they needed to hit? How long would you allow that to happen? For me, that would be about maybe 3 weeks before I fire somebody. And I have fired people in 3 weeks because they were not doing the job as I told them to do it. Now, some of you been having yourself as the employee, trying to do a certain job for 3 years, and you won't fire yourself. And you keep paying yourself. As a matter of fact, you've been giving yourself a raise for ineptitude, but you keep giving yourself more money. Now, you tell me who's crazy. I just want to let that point sit there for a minute. So, for example, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve as an outcome, you don't need to figure out on your own. All right, you figure out what the goal is. The goal you figure out. How you're going to achieve it, rather, is the better way I should say it. You don't need to figure out on your own. Go find someone who knows how to figure that out. All right, you want to make $1 million a month in your business? All right, do you know how to do it? No? Okay, go find somebody who's making $1 million a month and who's teaching other people how to make $1 million a month. And then you get with whatever they got going on, whatever their program is, and whatever they say, you do it. That's how you hit your standard. I just gave you a formula for success, and you can swap out whatever example that I put in it, swap out $1 million a month for whatever you want. You want a more loving relationship. You want to be in better shape. You want to be happier. You want to have more energy every day. You want to not have to be taking 15 pills that the doctor told you because you ain't been taking care of your body for the last 25 years. Whatever it is that you want to change, find the person who's already figured it out. Get with whatever system or program they got going on, and whatever they tell you to do, you do it. No negotiation. If I wanted to become a pro boxer, like this guy thought I was, if I wanted to, I go find a pro boxing trainer, and I say, hey, I want to be a pro boxer. Can you help me do that? And he said, yeah, all right, this is what it's going to take. All right, you got to come here every day, not every other day. You got to come here every day. And instead of a 1 hour workout, we're going to do a 2.5 hour workout. And instead of doing these other things that you're doing, you got to cut these 3 things out. You got to add these 3 things in. This is what it's going to take. Are you sure you want to do this? If I say yes, okay, now I got to stick to the program. That's the same thing you need to be doing when it comes to your mindset, when it comes to your strategies, when it comes to your systems, when it comes to the accountability for your business, if they are real standards. If you have real standards, then you should go get some help to make sure that you actually reach them and have a real deadline. And all of this should be an easy decision. This is not even anything you got to think about. This is not even a think about it type of thing. See, if you're telling yourself you got to think about it, then it's not a real standard. Then what you should do, and that doesn't make you a bad person, it just means you got to stop lying to yourself. Don't tell yourself you have a standard and you got to think about whether or not you're going to do it. It's not a standard. Standard is not, there's no thinking when you have a standard. There's no thinking about it when you have a standard. It just gets done, period. Everybody understand me? Good. Let's recap today's class, which is, what standards are you willing to set? Again, I was thinking about the whole dad bod concept, how when someone becomes a dad, they're supposed to, in a cute way, get out of shape because they have a kid and they have, commitments to the kid. And that didn't happen with me because I have certain standards when it comes to my physical fitness that, again, barring an act of God, and a child being alive is technically an act of God, but that's not what I mean. That's not going to interrupt me hitting a certain standard. And you need to know what your standards are. Point number 1. We talk about standards a lot here at Work on Your Game. Standards lead to principles, principles to strategies, strategies to tactics. The first step is understanding what your standards are. What are your non-negotiables? Many of you have no non-negotiables, and this is why you aren't able to achieve at a level at which you're proud in any aspect of your life, because you have no standards. You just go whatever direction the wind blows. Point number 2, the great thing about standards is that they make decision-making easy. All right, so when you have a certain standard, then that means whatever the standard says, you are doing it every single time. It does not matter what else is going on. You say, I'm going to wake up and work out every day. Every day means every day. That means Thanksgiving. That means Christmas. That means on your birthday. It means on your holiday. That means when you're hungover. Every day means every day. Are you willing to live like that? Whatever your standard is, it means every time this must be hit, and there are no exceptions. There are no stories. Number 3, best part about having standards is that you can map out exactly what you want your life to look like, give yourself an image of what you want, and then you can work backwards to figure out exactly what steps need to be taken there. And ideally, you get some help from someone who already knows how to do it, because whatever standard you want to set for yourself, guess what? There's someone else out there who already has that standard, and they already are living that standard relatively easily for them. They can show you how to do it. All you got to do is plug into what they're doing and do whatever it is they tell you to do. Again, no negotiation. All right. And anyone of you who's in the coaching space, coaching, consulting, personal training, we all know the best coaches have the best clients. And the best clients are those who know what I just explained, that if you're going to get with this, whatever I got going on, I'm going to tell you what the program is. I'm going to tell you what to do. There's no back and forth. There's no, I don't want to do that part. I don't like this. I don't want to do burpees. I don't want to do sit-ups. I don't want to run on the treadmill. Listen, you want to be in shape or not? Because if you don't, take your money back and get the hell out of here. All right, that's the way it works. What are you non-negotiable about? This is what you need to think about today. Just think about that. What are you non-negotiable about in your life? And then look at your actions and then ask yourself honestly, do your actions reflect that non-negotiable mindset, or are you just saying it because it sounds good? All that said, text me, tell me the best point you got from today's class. What are you going to do different based on what you heard? And let me know you want to get that daily motivation. My number is 305-384-6894. And Work on Your Game University. You want to work with me directly, or we're going to get to standards. We're going to lay out what your standards are, your principles, your strategies, and techniques for your mindset, strategies, systems, and execution when it comes to your business and your personal life. Now, if you're serious about getting real results in your life, and you're tired of bullshitting yourself, you're tired of telling yourself the story about how it's going to be different this year, and this year is still looking like last year, come to workonyourgameuniversity.com, and we'll tell you exactly what it's going to take to get started. Work on your game. Dre all day.